Hello everybody, welcome back to another video with ElectraSoul. This video is going to be a little bit different from my others because this is not really going to be an informational video. This is going to be a story time on my first demonic experience. So I'm talking about experiences with demons, the paranormal, voices, like all kinds of crazy things. But before we get into that, let me just say that I do have a spiritual store called ElectraSoul.co in which we sell angel number earrings. Here we've got 111 angel number hoop and a whole bunch of others. We sell angel number jewelry, hair clips, clothing, and we sell crystal sages incenses. I also do spiritual readings and spiritual coaching, so if you're looking to enhance your spiritual abilities, hit me with an email and we can get started. You can follow me on Instagram, follow my TikTok, subscribe to my YouTube channel, share this video, like this video. Okay, now let's get started with the video. The things that I'm going to be talking about is going to be pretty sad. If you're not okay with listening to sad things, or if you have a lot of triggers, I don't recommend you watch this video because I'm going to be talking about suicidal thoughts and just things surrounding that, like feeling very depressed and anxious. So anxiety, things like that. It's a warning, so take it as you will. This story is going to be pretty crazy, so if you do not believe in spirits, if you do not believe in paranormal things or demons or evil spirits, it's not my job to convince you. So if you're not up to having an open mind, then you might as well just click off of this video. But for those of y'all who are ready to get creeped out, let's get started. A little background story. Ever since I was a child, I was always very intuitive, like probably way more intuitive than I should have been at such a young age. I was super empathetic. I just understood a lot of things that I just feel like I was too young to really understand, but yet I did. I would have a lot of intuitive dreams. It was just like a whole bunch of things that I feel like led up to this moment in which my spiritual journey kind of really began. I had just turned 10, so this was back in 2010. I came back from a family vacation in New York because I have a lot of family up there. We go there yearly. That year, I remember when I turned 10, I cried in the bathroom as if my life was over. I don't know, it was just crazy to me because I remember knowing that my life had really just begun, even though I was only 10 years old. So keep in mind, like, everyone else around me seeing me as a child, but in my mind, I was like, oh shit, I'm in the double digits now, it's getting real. Of course, I did have a really great time. I remember I asked God to make it snow on my birthday, and on my birthday, I kid you not, the worst blizzard that's happened in years came, and I was so happy about it because I truly felt like it was from God. I remember at the time I was a little bit more upset about some things. I guess I was just kind of like picking and choosing what to be upset about. I was first upset because I had to come back from New York and I really wanted to stay there. I love going there. It's always been really fun. It's kind of like when you don't want a vacation to end because you're like, oh, I'm having such a fun time and I have to go back to school and all this other stuff. I have to do homework. I don't like doing homework. So when we came back that night, I was already upset because we literally missed the New Year mark by 2 minutes. So it was 12:02 in 2011 and I was like, oh my gosh, bro, like I wanted to see the ball drop and I didn't get to. So that was one thing. I was devastated, as silly as it sounds, because it made me feel super connected to New York. I was like, that's where I should be. But you know what can I do? I wasn't going to be able to go back. I had to deal with the fact that I'm back where I am now and I have to go back to regular life. So we go back to school and I remember I was in my 4th grade class. The class year in general was horrible. I had barely any friends. People were very mean to me. I did not feel pretty. I did not feel like myself. I felt so insecure and so alone because I knew I was thinking about things that nobody else around me understood. It felt like I was really realizing who I was and everybody else around me was still stuck in their like video games and, you know, to just chill as a 10-year-old because that's what you're supposed to do. But for me, I feel like my mind just went a lot deeper than it should have, and I kind of hated it too because I didn't have friends that I could relate to. Everybody that I knew at that time, they just were not on the same mindset as me, and that's completely fine, but like I said, I felt really alone. I remember we had a sub one day in class, and he was a really cool teacher. He loved to talk to all the students and kind of get us together. So he lined us all up. The teacher goes, okay, I want all of y'all to tell me 3 things that you're grateful for in your life. Of course, most of the kids were just saying that they were grateful for the PlayStation or Xbox that they got got that year for Christmas. They wanted the J's, whatever else that they wanted. They're really happy about it. But as the teacher continued on asking each child what they're grateful for, most of the responses were materialistic. So in my mind, I was like, okay, I gotta think of 3 things that are materialistic that I like, because that's what everyone else is saying. I remember when he got to me, I just said I was grateful for my family, for the vacation that I had, and the stuff that I got for Christmas, which that year, I remember I didn't really get that many things, which is okay because of course times were tight, like that's just the way it was. But it affected me so much in that moment because I realized that everyone else around me had things that I wanted but I couldn't get. So when kids were talking about, I got this for Christmas, I'm so grateful for that, I'm so grateful for that, it kind of made my mind distort the reality that I was in. So I started to think from their perspective. I was like, okay, so I barely got anything for Christmas. Does that mean that I have a bad life? And that question, that shit fucked me up for I think 2 months straight. In that moment I asked myself, I was like, I don't have a good life. That's what I said. And I just like realized it, like really thought about it, and I was like, damn, all these people have such good lives but I don't. And of course looking back now, I'm like, girl, you were alive, you were breathing, you had a good life. But of course as a 10-year-old, as much as I thought about things from a different perspective, I also generally just felt really sad about like the way that I felt about myself and everything else. I just was not happy at all. After this, the phrase, you don't have a good life, began to repeat in my mind. I kid you not, 100 times a day or more. I don't even know. It was like the only thing that I could think about. I remember at the start, it was only something that kind of was a thought that stuck with me. But as time went on, I started to realize that it was just something more. The way that it had affected me, I just knew that there was just something not right with this. After a day or two, I began to hear in my mind 3 different voices. One was a girl and 2 of them were boys. Though the boys sounded similar, they were definitely different voices in which I thought was myself. I swore up and down, I was like, okay, I'm fucking crazy. For a moment, I thought I was mentally ill. I thought I had schizophrenia. I thought there was something genuinely wrong with me because I kept hearing these 3 voices tell me, you don't have a good life, you don't have a good life, you don't have a good life, on repeat. And that was what was really affecting me at this point, because now it felt like something that I couldn't control. I was like, I keep hearing these things in my head and they're making me feel crazy. Like I feel like shit right now. I began to kind of like ask my mom. I was like, mommy, I hear something in my head that's telling me that I don't have a good life. Like I felt silly saying it because I just felt like I was being ridiculous. I felt like, okay girl, you need to chill out. I just feel so sad. Like the sadness is like a pit in my chest. I don't feel good. Like I just feel like I really want to go back to New York, because that's where I claimed was my good life, in New York, instead of living my present life where I had to go to school, do schoolwork, live everyday life. But I felt like I had to tell somebody because I just didn't understand what was going on. And so my mom didn't really understand what I was talking about. Like she knew I was upset, but she didn't understand nearly how deep it actually was. So to make her not worry and to alleviate the fact that I felt ridiculous saying it, I just told her, it's okay, I'll sing it away. I'll try to sing on top of it so that I don't hear it anymore. So I made up like this little song in my head. I don't even remember how it went, but it was like a little rhyme and I was just saying how good my life was. It was like opposing. And every single time I tried singing it, it was like those voices were overpowering the song. It was like overpowering every single thought that I had. Every single thing that I thought about was just that. That was it. That's all I could think about. I told my mom after a few days, I was like, it's not working. I still feel really sad. I just feel like I don't have a good life. And she was like, but you said that the song would help you, that, you know, you would feel better. And I was like, I don't think it's working. And of course, like I said before, she didn't really understand. So she just thought that I just felt like I missed New York a lot, whereas it was a lot deeper than I was making it seem. So she tried to be there for me, you know, she tried to buy me ice cream to make me feel better, like do cute mom things, which I'm really grateful for. But I knew it was something that I had to fight within myself, though I had no idea what it was. And then it gets worse, because the voices go from, you don't have a good life, you have a bad life, to kill yourself, you should kill yourself, you should die. Sis, when I tell you right now, I swore up and down that this shit was coming from me. I was like, okay, I must be crazy now. Like, why am I telling myself this? I literally feel like I want to do it. But at the same time, there was just something that I knew wasn't me. It was kind of like an outside force. I didn't know that like influences can talk to you, you know, in your mind or whatever, kind of like channeling, right? I had no idea that that existed. I was nauseous every single day. Every single day I would shake in class. I would cry. I remember at one point my aunt from New York called me and she was like, are you okay? I'm worried about you. Your mom's telling me that you're depressed, that you said you're depressed. Do you want to come back to New York? Like, we can make it work out for you. I just don't want you to be too sad. And I was like, no, it's okay. Like, I'm gonna be fine. I know that these things happen. It has nothing to do with you guys. I do miss you guys a lot, but I will see you next year. And I feel like the reason I said that, as opposed to taking up on her offer to go back, was because I knew that it was deeper than me actually missing them. I knew that that was not the reason that I felt these things. It was something that I was experiencing inside of my mind. So as these voices got worse, my health started to become worse, because from the moment that I woke up to the moment I went to sleep, that was the only thing that I would hear. It got to a point where I only wanted to be asleep. I wanted to sleep every single day, all day. I did not want to go to school anymore because I could not keep myself from breaking down. I remember being in class one time doing my textbook work by myself, and I began to really hold back tears because I couldn't do it. I just felt absolutely horrible. Not to mention my teacher was the worst. She was just a very mean teacher, and so I knew that I couldn't really cry, if you know what I mean, because I felt like, you know, she was gonna be like, what is your problem, and kinds of bullshit. Not to mention that back then I was a very big people pleaser, and I was very, very, very insecure, and so everything that I did, I wanted to be sure that it was to the likes of other people. Nothing paranormal happened in my life as far as like things falling down and all kinds of crazy things like that, but the dreams that I would have and the things that I would hear every single day was enough to literally drive a person insane. At this point, I had such bad anxiety. I would have to tell my mom to please pick me up because I felt like I was going to throw up. It was the same shit every single day. And she would pick me up, take me home. I would eat ice cream. I would chill out, things like that. But in general, every single day, it was the same thing. I've never felt so bad in my life. That was like the first time that anxiety really took hold in my life. And I was only 10 fucking years old, bro. Like, 10 years old and you're experiencing all these things. Yeah, no one around me was gonna take me serious. And I knew that I was alone. I honestly knew that I only had God at that point, because even the girl that I called my best friend, she was not it. I remember I would try to talk to her. One day I was like, hey, I have a question. Have you ever felt really, really sad? And she was like, no. And I was like, do you ever get bored? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, I mean, like, really bored with your life? And she was like, no. A girl was going through it. I was trying to relate to somebody. I would just be like, can you please tell me, like, have you ever felt super sad about anything in your life? And she was just like, no, I never have. And I was like, okay, girl, never mind. And then that made me feel worse, because I was like, okay, well, now I don't have any friends and I'm definitely insane. I remember I even asked another friend, I was like, have you ever felt so bored with your life that you could just cry? And she was like, I've never felt that bored before. Not me asking other 10-year-olds, okay. But I was just trying my best, and no one else could really tell me that they felt the same way. From there, in my mind, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse, and it would just keep telling me the same shit. I remember at one point the voices got so bad telling me to kill myself that I began to contemplate doing something, because I said, okay, well, I really want to do it. I am so unhappy. I don't know what's gonna happen to me. Every single time I was told, kill yourself, it was so crazy to see how a plan was made. They would be like, go to the kitchen, do this, do that. And the thing that they wanted me to do one time was to literally stab myself with a knife. And I remember that it told me that, as gruesome and horrible as it sounds, they wanted my family to suffer, like to see me like that, to see me on the floor dead or whatever, bloody. And I remember thinking, I was like, oh my god, that doesn't sound right. Because I knew myself that as bad as it is right now, it always turns out okay. That's always been my thing. Ever since I was a child, I've always had hope. I've never been through something and said that I'm fucked forever. I've always said everything is gonna be okay. I don't know how, but it's going to be okay. And every single time I say that, it always turns out okay, no matter how bad it gets. I'm like, this will pass and everything is going to be fine. So when I was hearing these things and they were telling me, okay, take the knife. I remember one time my mom was outside, my family was outside, they were like riding bikes or something, and I was in the house alone. And I went to the kitchen and I opened the drawer and there were like a bunch of knives and shit, like big knives. And I like touched it and they were like, do it, do it, do it. And I just put it down and I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna end my life. I'm not gonna do that to my family. I'm not gonna do that to myself. I feel like at that point I had more control over what I was thinking and the things that I was hearing. I knew that I could overcome it in a way, although I knew at the same time that I was gonna continue to hear these things because I did. You know, that didn't stop it. Not doing what I was told that time did not stop it, but it did stop it telling me so much to kill myself. You know what I'm trying to say? It was kind of like what I didn't know were spirits at the time were getting bored, and so they moved on to something else, something way worse. They wanted me to do something to somebody else now. My brother has autism, so he's about 4 years younger than I am. At the time, he was only like 5 years old. I remember that the voice started telling me that it was his fault, that my mom was stressed, that we had a bad life. Things that I know are not true, but that's what the thing was telling me. They were like, he's the issue. He's the reason you feel this way. It began to tell me that I had to get rid of him. I don't know, have y'all ever seen like those shows where some people are like, oh, I heard a voice that was telling me to kill somebody and I did it or whatever. I used to think that that was bullshit when I was young. I was like, bro, like that is such cap, like they just want to kill them. But in reality, like that definitely does happen. I don't know if y'all know about The Devil Made Me Do It with Ed and Lorraine, The Conjuring. It's coming out this year. Kind of like the same story there. The guy was possessed, which led him to kill all these people. I'm not saying I was possessed, but it's kind of the same concept in that way. So they were telling me, you need to get rid of him. And I was like, what the fuck? In my head, I was like, oh my god, I'm literally gonna fucking kill myself because what in the world is happening? I'm really proud of myself because I knew the difference between what was good and what was not. Because you know, when you hear something like that so much, you begin to believe it. No matter how good you were before, no matter how clean your morals are, if you hear a certain thing telling you to do something, you're eventually going to do it because you're influenced by that thing. And so hearing this, I was like, what in the world? No, like no. And I remember telling you, I was like, no, he's not the problem. He's not the problem. I'm not doing anything. He's not the problem. I'm fine. My family's fine. Like we're fine. We're happy. We're not stressed. And then from there it got worse. They were like trying to get me to do something about it. They were like, you need to get rid of him. You need to do something. Do it tonight. Do it tonight. And what they were referring to, they wanted me to basically kill him. Like that's what they were telling me to do. At this point, I just knew that shit was turning left really fast. From there, when it got to that horrible point where I was not going to cooperate with what they were telling me to do, I kept fighting the fuck out of like what I was hearing. And the worst part was that I didn't even know how to get rid of it. I didn't know what to do about it. I knew that if I told anybody, they would think that I'm insane or they would send me off to like some sort of hospital or something because what I was hearing was not normal, obviously. I remember one night they were like, okay, do it tonight, and I was in my bed and I was just crying and I was like, what in the world is happening? And that night, I don't know what happened. Damn, I'm sorry y'all, I do not mean to cry, like I swear. It's just like, I don't know, you know when you think you're over something and then you talk about it again and then you're like, holy shit, like that really happened? It's kind of like that. I don't know. I'm not crying because I'm upset. I'm crying because I'm really grateful because that night I just knew that God was gonna take over, if that makes sense. Like after that night, I kid you not, I never heard a single word in my mind ever again. From that point, the voices dis-a-fucking-peared. They left. I did not hear a single thing. No more, your life is bad, kill yourself, kill this, kill whatever it was. It completely left me alone. It was like those three voices, which I now discovered were actually evil spirits fucking with me, messing with my mind, had left because they realized that I was not going to do what they wanted me to do. I was not spiritually weak enough to fall for what they wanted. From there on out, I was completely left alone. And it's so crazy because for years after that, I always asked myself, I was like, I don't know what that was. I still don't know what that was. And then when something else really demonic happened to me about 2 years ago, this was when I really began to like communicate with spirits full on, and getting rid of evil spirits and getting rid of demons, and really understanding what it was like to be kind of like a demonologist. I feel like that was like the beginning of it all, because after that my life was never the same. I've always believed in spirits. There was never a time in my life where I was like, spirits aren't real. No, I've always believed in spirits. I've always believed in God ever since I don't even know, I think since I was born I've believed in God. I've never ever doubted him. No matter how many times I've went through horrible things, I just knew that God was always real. I just want to let you know that if you're somebody who hears spirits in your mind, and you hear voices telling you to die, to kill yourself, whatever it is, anything at all that's telling you to harm somebody else or to harm yourself, something that is not you, that you know is not normal, that is outside of you. I don't know how many of y'all believe in God, but I highly recommend commanding them to go away in the name of Jesus. Because if I had known that at that time, obviously I wouldn't have been dealing with what I went through for so long. But at the same time, what I went through showed me so much about what it is to have control over your spirituality, to be able to have God there in a time that you literally need him and Jesus. Because these things are really horrible, you know, who wants to hear that? And what makes me even more sad is like, people will hear these things and they'll be labeled as crazy. They'll be labeled as you're sick, you're insane. But in reality, do you know how many times demons, evil spirits have spoken to people and made them feel absolutely insane to a point where they feel like they're insane? All I'm saying is that you can stop it, and because you're able to, you should definitely stop it before it gets anywhere crazy like it has for other people. There is always a positive ending to things that you don't even realize can have positive endings too. No matter what you're going through, you're going to be okay. We are all meant to be here to learn and grow, and so you will do just that. Your soul knows what's best for you, no matter what your ego is telling you, no matter what any kind of spirit tells you. You rule your own life, nobody else does. This is a very heavy story. I'm sorry y'all, like I know it was really crazy, it was very like what the fuck, but honestly I knew one day I was gonna tell the story because I knew it could help people out there. So here it is, like take it as you will. Just know that you can definitely get rid of evil spirits no matter what. Keep in mind, I thought I was crazy. I thought I was losing my effing mind. But no, in that moment when I feel like God really had me, like Jesus really had me, and my angels really had me, after that, that was it. That was the last time I was ever bothered in such a way by a spirit. Of course, I've had a lot of other interactions with evil spirits that were very mean, but this was the only time that it had gotten so far as to where I felt physically sick, mentally ill. Evil spirits definitely take a toll on your body. They try to take over your soul, literally. They try to bring you to the dark side or whatever, the egotistical side, the side that you're not supposed to be on. It is very possible for people to get very ill from these things. That's exactly why I feel like that moment is what developed my anxiety. I don't have anxiety anymore or depression, but I did for that period of time because of the things that happened. After that, I really just had to heal myself. I began to do things that I really liked again. I began to go out again. I began to just feel free again because I knew that that was it. You know, I didn't hear the things that I heard before. Although other things in my life obviously made me sad because I'm very empathetic, so you know, anything that would happen would kind of affect me. It was never in the same way as I felt when I was experiencing that with the evil spirits, because they drained everything from me. All of the dark energy, even thinking about it now, like gives me like very sad and like cold vibes, because the energy around me was just super sad and dark. Damn, I thank God every day I got through that, because that was some shit. Alright y'all. Thank you guys so much for listening to my little story time. I know it's gonna help a lot of people out there. I intend it to the depths of my soul. If you have any other story times that you want to hear, go ahead and comment down below, because I have a ton that are very crazy. It may seem unbelievable, but it is what it is, because when it comes to spirits, can you ever really be sure? And I'm a Capricorn, so y'all know that I am not playing, because we are logical queens. I love y'all so much. I will see you next week for another video. Bye.